distinguished guests, and my colleagues from Glatt, I'd like to welcome all of you to our presentation and my presentation here. Today, I'm going to talk about the competences and intricacies of Glatt fluid bed technology, which has been around for many years. And when we are in pharmacy school learning how to develop product, that's one of the equipment was introduced to us, and believe it or not, is still with us and giving us much more newer, emerging, and innovative technologies as we go along. So that being said, the presentation that I will have today mainly go over different technologies that we have basically offering to different problem solving, different manufacturing of oral solid dosage form. What are the possibilities that they produce or provide to different expectation that different dosage form has, both in vitro and in vivo, and different processes that produce those product along the line. I'll touch over some of the formulation considerations, some of the areas that we all need to look into before we select that process. And then I'll have some overview how to select a suitable process for the particular dosage form that you have. And at the end, I would like to conclude, and we'll be more than happy to take your question. That being said, now this fluid bed has multidimensional benefit to offer. Now, the first and foremost, it agglomerates solid dosage form, meaning any powder, any particulate matter, it can agglomerate and form granules, which is one of the main steps that everybody has to go through in order to come up with an oral solid dosage form, which is tablet or capsule or powder for suspension, and so on and so forth. Now, the next one is the particulate coating process. So we'll definitely go over individually each one of them, but having the drug loaded into a small particle and coated with different drug release that modify the release in vivo saw a lot of expectation and the drug release and absorption mechanism that a drug goes through and the availability that we are looking for when it goes through the GI tract and the biological system in general. Now, this is an emerging technology I'll be more than happy to go over with you. As you know that more than about 90% of the new chemical entity in last 10 years or so, they are all very poorly soluble. And Glatt has an emerging new technology to solve that and have it made without going through the spray drying process as well as the hot melt granulation, which is very unique. Last but not the least, we have our own complex perfect sphere technology, a technology that we use in order to form pellets, which is drug-loaded pellets, and then you can apply any sort of coating on it in order to have the drug release that you are looking for. Now, let's see the possibility that all this technology has to deliver to us or out there for all the scientists to grasp. Now, the granulation, as I was talking about, when you do any sort of tableting capsuling, your API usually comes in a crystalline form and powder, and then you have to add it to the diluent and any other excipient in order to fill it into capsule or compress into tablet. However, in order to do that, you have to have a free-flowing granules that should be processed through the tablet press or the capsule machine. So it has to be free-flowing there. Now, there are attempts which were made earlier to mix API with excipient, but through the mixing process and through the mechanical process, they may get segregated. So we just need to have something that will hold them together. So granulation process is deemed to be very appropriate to have them uniformly distributed, especially the low-dose drug in a dosage form. Now, when we have them also, especially for high-loaded drug where you have excipient on the lower end and the drug is 80%, just for as an example, then they are usually low-density material. So this process densify the material so that you can fill this one in a smaller size capsule or compress into tablet. Now, this process also gives you a high porous material which will go into solution very quickly, so your dissolution will be higher. And also, it has higher compactability or compressibility, which will give you a better hardness so that you can get a good tablet that will basically have very good friability. You do not have to worry about that, plus no effect of hardness on the disintegration as well. Now, these granules, some of them are used for pediatric and geriatric purposes, and oftentimes they are bitter in taste, so patient compliance is very compromised there. So with this type of process, we can apply taste masking on this one and then can be dispensed into a sachet or a stick pack, and it can be used for geriatric and pediatric population as well. Now, there are cases where we are having more than one API in a formulation, so they may be often incompatible, so you can use the coating top spray as the coating process so that you can have a barrier between these two ingredients, so they do not have any stability issue when they are combined together in the dosage form. Now, coating can be done on both powder, granules, and pellets. When we do powder, the powder can come from the granules, and that can be coated, or we can compress the powder into mini tablet, and that can be coated as well. Now, why the pellets and mini tablets are very popular among the scientists who are designing controlled release dosage form for oral administration. Definitely they are small, uniform, and easy to swallow. They are repetitive, so when it goes through the GI tract, they get dispersed throughout the GI tract, so you do not see any irritation, any localization, or any absorption issue from certain cluster of drug that is sitting in the corner. So regardless of the peristaltic movement, the powder pellets are distributed evenly saturated throughout your GI tract, so that gives you enough surface area for your GI tract to get the API or the active absorbed throughout the window of the absorption of the GI tract, and that will give you the Cmax, the time, and the release that you are looking for from this particular active, or if it is more than one active. Now, as I was talking about having the coating, that coating can be many different ways. You can have a control release coating, you can have a delayed release coating, you can have a targeted coating, you can have a pulsatile coating. So you can design your coating and use the technology to have a mix and match to get the right drug delivery system that will serve the purpose of your therapeutic active for the therapeutic use of that particular active. Now, as I was talking about, these are basically behind the scene possibilities that this particular mini tablet and pellet offers, which is reduce the risk of dose dumping, because since they are distributed, saturated over throughout the GI tract, their absorption is uniform throughout the GI tract. There is no dose dumping there. That eliminates the systemic toxicity, as I was talking about, since they are uniformly distributed. No effect of local irritation, that's for sure. And minimum variability in bioavailability, as they are less dependent on the GI transit. So peristaltic movement often periodically, but since it is distributed throughout GI tract, so that peristaltic movement has minimum effect on the movement of the pellet through the GI tract. So the bioavailability through absorption has minimum impact, where if it is a single dosage unit, as it moves along, its bioavailability can be interrupted by the movement of the tablet itself or the capsule itself. Now, the other beauty of this one is, in contrast to monolithic device, now a small imperfection in that pellet will not have any major impact if the similar imperfection was on the tablet or the release from the capsule, because it is one of the small unit. So any imperfection will be compensated by lot of other pellets. So if you look at any capsule that has 100 small particles or pellet in there, so if one of the particles has little imperfection there, the absorption and the release will not be impacted in general, which is basically a beauty and the benefit, one of the highest regarded benefit of this multi-particulate dosage form that it has. Now, I'm very happy to introduce you with another technology that Glatt offers here. Is you can make your drug-loaded pellet from the very beginning. So you have API, you can use that API, add excipient to it, and then you start making that pellets, which will be the pellet with the active that is going in there. So it will be the drug-loaded pellet, and that pellet can be coated with many different coating process and achieve your delayed release, modified release, and on the top of it, you can apply another IR release in order to have the desired release that you are looking for. This one has the capacity to give you up to 90% drug loading there. So when you will have pellet, that pellet is loaded with the API, and it minimizes the effect of particle size, it minimizes the effect of any other impact that API can have during the processing. So you embedded that API into MCC, and then you have that salads or API-loaded pallet prepared for your next coating stage. Now, looking at the picture, this is one of the case study that we did for one of our clients. So this is the picture. Looking at the picture, you can see they are very uniform, spherical, and based on the process that we have, you can make particle size between 100 to 1200 throughout your process by adjusting the amount of water that you are adding and the RPM and other processes, so on and so forth. And that will give you pellets which could be smaller, that can be used as test masking pellet, which is smaller, and then you can take it to the other level, other side of it, which will be coated with delayed release, MR release, and maybe both, or depending on the desired target profile of your product. The particles growth are so controlled that it has a very narrow particle size distribution. You can see that 95% target plus minus 100 micron. You can apply, as I said, the modified release matrix on the system, and like the other coating that we spoke about, there is no initial inert substrate to start off with. So you can start off with your API and MCC itself, and then you produce. There is no need to put any sugar sphere or pellet in the beginning. So that's another advantage it has, and it doesn't need any binder to have that drug layering done. Now, amorphous solid dispersion now is an emerging issue for all the formulators who are dealing with new chemical entities. And about 90% of the drug which are coming through the pipeline now are poorly water soluble, and they have bioavailability issue. Now, because of the long trend that the industry is following, we have spray drying as one of the most commonly used process, plus hot melt granulation. Now, one of the process that's common for both spray drying process and hot melt granulation is those produces the granules, which is amorphous solid dispersion. Then you have to mix with additional excipient and go through the process to make a blend which is free-flowing, and then compress into tablet or fill into a capsule. But the process that we have at Glatt, you can produce the amorphous solid dispersion using top spray granulation or bottom. So you have your drug mixed with your polymer, you spray onto the substrate, and your amorphous solid dispersion is all prepared there. You have many different control to have the drug loading and the solubility and the enhancement that you're looking for. But once you have the process done, you take the granules, you final blend it, compress it, and then encapsulate, so you are done. So that technology was never thought before, but it appears to be an emerging technology. People are looking at it, and we didn't know that that's a possibility before Glatt introduced this one in here and just say, no spray drying necessary, no hot melt extrusion, because I think this is chemistry 101. Nobody wants to heat up their molecule at higher temperature and cool it down that might basically increase the molecular mobility into this or atomic mobility into this molecule. So why taking an API and heat it up? So this process is very simple. You mix it together, spray onto your substrate, and your amorphous solid dispersion is all made ready to go. Fill into capsule or compress into tablet. So we call it as a paradigm shift, and it's a remarkable that when we help few of our clients, they are surprised as well. Wonderful. So it gave them the dissolution and enhancement they are looking for, but it appears to be unrealistic. Did it happen? Does it happen that way? That's, I would say, a very novel and emerging new way of making amorphous solid dispersion using Glatt fluid bed technology. Now, looking at the background of it, we take the API, disperse into the polymer network, mix it, apply it onto the substrate, and these two graphs, we took it from one of our products that were made, and looking at their dissolution and XRD, you can see that they are really a true amorphous solid dispersion, and then enhancements of the solubility is obvious here. Now, just to come back from where I started, looking at any API for oral administration for any therapeutic application, the processes that we have in our availability, the one that we offer, starting from granules, microcapsules, pellets, going to tablet, and then going back into sachet, powder for dispersion, so on and so forth. That can cover from geriatric to pediatric, or vice versa, from pediatric to geriatric, the entire life cycle of our humanity. Any drug that can be dispensed for a infant as well as our geriatric patient, because drug like oncology drug like many other drug, where it can have application for a wide range of age group, the process is so flexible. You can accommodate everything else into the process and make the dosage form that you're looking for. So it is basically a technology that gives you the flexibility to make the dosage form that takes care of the entire age group from pediatric to geriatric, and that is a great, great flexibility in terms of having the dosage form designed and done by the scientist for sure. Now, let's look at the different processes which can make those products that we are talking about. Now, Glatt fluid bed, one of the highly used processes, the top spray granulation, where the solution is sprayed onto a substrate, which gives the agglomeration of this powder, free flowing, that goes into capsule, tablet, or you can coat that. The second one is the Worcester process, where you take the pellet, process it, apply different form of coating, and achieve your drug release profile. The rotor granulator is another flexibility that you have off top spray granulation, where I will go through into detail that it will get you another population of granules for different purposes. Then the CPS technology that I discussed about, if you like to prepare or make your own granules using the API itself, that possibility is there. And you can also take the powder, do the granulation, have the mini tablet, and you can apply coating on the top of the mini tablet. So that covers all the ranges of multi-particulate dosage form, and give you the advantage that you are looking for. Now, for top spray, it is basically a liquid that gets prepared, spray on a substrate that could be part of the capsule, tablet, excipient, and apply the API on the top, or you can have the API plus the excipient together and apply simply the water to get the granulation done, which will be a good flowable granules and uniform for your tableting, capsuling, and different other dosage form that you are trying to develop using that API. Now, as I said, this has been in use for a long, long period of time, very traditional and proven and reliable, very simple process and economical because you can have a very large amount of batches made in a very short period of time. It has many different control and the outcome can be many different ways you can manage that. It's a one-step granulation process. It make the granules is not like high shear granulation. You granules, you dry, and the granules that you get out of fluid bed granulation is free-flowing granules you can fill into capsule and then compress into tablet or mix it with something else that you like to modify anything for that particular desired drug release of this product. Now, granules can be made loose if you like to have some higher dissolution up there. You can produce high porous and floppy granules which will go into solution faster, and then you can apply different type of polymer on the top in order to achieve the desired expectation you have. If you like to have a test masking, you can do it. If you like to have a barrier coating, you can apply that. And if you like to add some disintegrant or any other purposes, any excipient to it that will go in there and then help you deliver the product based on the design that you have. Now, amorphous solid dispersion can be also made using this technology that you will have a substrate that will go in there and then you make your API plus polymer, make separately spray onto it, and then the granules that will come from here can go into tablet, can fill into capsule, and then you can also put this one in a sachet with many different excipient to mix with, and that could be, ODT type of thing or orally disintegrating tablet as well. So there are multiple application to this process to have the desired delivery system. Now, rotary granulation is one sort of granulation process. The only basic difference that you'll see if you like to have a denser granules made during the granulation process, the main purpose of this one is if you have very high drug loading and if you have porous granules, the density will be low. In that case, you may not be able to fill it into size 0 capsule or a smaller capsule. So in that case, if you can make the granules little more denser, you should be able to fill it in a smaller dosage form, which is desired. Now, there are active ingredients which are not stable in presence of moisture. So those drug is a good candidate for powder layering. So the granules will be available in the rotor and the powder will be added to the rotor to have a powder layering Lansoprazole is one of the example that we can remember that is very moisture sensitive, so it is not recommended to apply inside the granulation process. However, once you have any pellets or salad made, then you can apply this one with the minimum moisture application as a powder layering on the top. Now, coating can also be done in rotor processing because that is done using the tangential spray, which is angularly positioned on the ball, so that apply during that coating process. So it is not a bottom or rooster spray. However, for any single application, like if you like to do a granulation followed by coating, that will be one way of looking at it, because that offers both of them there in the same coating pan. And like direct pelletization from powder ensure uniformity. Now, we know that spheronization is done. However, direct pelletization is a good recommendation in order to have pellets produced which is very uniform. So rotor process can help you achieve that. Now, when the choice comes between spray versus rotor granulation, yes, powder layering is one of the critical consideration that will basically let you choose the rotor over bottom spray or top spray, and subsequent coating in the same operation. As I was telling you, that if you have a granulation plus coating, we wanted to do in the same step, you can have this one as your method of choice to go forward. Now, looking at this picture on the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that the granules that were made, the bottom left-hand side and the bottom, it is porous and little less dense compared to the granules that was produced using the rotor, which is much more denser. So you can have a better, denser granules to fill into your capsule or compress into tablet, because you have high drug loading there. So you can use that for your benefit. Plus, if you have powder layering, which is on your right-hand side, you can see the powder layering was done on a salad or pellet using that rotor technology, which was very helpful for any product which are moisture sensitive in general. Now, this is the bottom spray, or we also call Worcester bottom spray process. So this basically, you can take granules, you can take substrate, inert substrate, which is salad or pellet, and then you can apply your API in suspension, solution, or emulsion form on the top. And subsequently, you can also have different type of polymer coating on the top, and that polymer coating will control your different release profile. It could be DR, it could be MR, it could be sustained release, or if you have in one pellet multiple release, you can have drug layering on the top, you can have sustained release, you can have another protective layer, and then IR can go on the top. So in one application, you can have an immediate release biphasal distribution, so it will have an immediate release followed by a sustained release application using this technology. Now, beside that, you can also use this technology if you have any API which are pH dependent. So you can use tartaric acid as your core material which will give you extra benefit to have a microenvironmental pH condition where your drug will be solubilized and you'll get the bioavailability enhancement that you're looking for. Now, test masking is another application, and you can also have different other advantages because it is so flexible. You can modify any way you like in order to achieve your desired release and absorption expectation. It is a highly efficient process because the spray, fluidization, and application, they all done in one process. And there are different coating application are possible because you can apply on the same pallet different application in different order. You can go to IR on one pallet and then modify to another pallet. You can have two pallet population to give you two different drug release, or you can have one pallet with different application of coating on the top to get you different drug release in vivo. Now, yes, definitely this process has been used so many years, and so many different ways. It is absolutely, and there are so many products out there which were manufactured using this process. This is an absolutely robust and reproducible process. It has been established for years. And last but not the least, the application, the Worcester process gives you the coating performance, which is absolutely uniform, and you need that because for your modified release product, you will have multi-tier dissolution spec. So unless you have that uniformity of the coating process, it will be a difficult challenge to achieve that dissolution specification at different stages of the product. So Worcester process is quite capable to do that, and you should be able to control that and achieve your desired dissolution throughout your dissolution time period. Now, the CPS technology, as I was telling, it is very unique. You have your API and you mix it with MCC, and then you start applying water. You can do it that way, or you can have a pre-granulation, or we call it pre-moisturing process. So we apply a small amount of moisture into it so that the nucleation starts there, and then we take the material, put it in that Worcester process, which is a rotor type, different angle, and when it spins during that time, because of the dimensions, shape, and the centrifugal forces, this small nucleation turn into that compact and spherical granules, which is the drug-loaded granules and drug-loaded pellets, you can say. Now, look at the finished product. As I said, this is basically one of the product that we worked on, and this is the granules, and looking at it is beautifully spherical, compressed, condensed, and you can then take it and apply it, fill it into capsule. You can apply coating on the top, or you can just make the changes that is as you like, and you are getting about up to 90% of drug loading there to move forward with your dosage form there. Now, during this process, we use these two PAT technologies, one being ICON digital imaging instrument, and also the light microscopy MOTIC system. So we use them in order to maintain and track the growth of the pellet while they are developing. And this case study, I purposely wanted to show you. We had some of our clients who came over to us. They're using extrusion process and spheronization process, and they had a coating on the top. So, and that dissolution was not really doing very well because there was some variation there. So from that point, we took it and we applied our CPS process, and the granules that we obtained were very uniform and well distributed. Morphology was quite amazing there, and we were able to coat it, and their dissolution problem, the variability was resolved. And you can see from the picture that the particles that were created or produced using spheronization had a lot of imperfection on the surfaces and their size distribution. So in order for you to have an uniform coating applied and achieve the desired coating performance, you need to have a tight range of particle distribution, which should be uniform and have a wonderful morphology and smooth morphology on the top. Now, this picture just shows you the graph, the motic microscopic graph. You can see that pre-wet all the way up to end of the CPS process, how the pellet grew during the CPS processing. The next page that I have is the icon, so you can have images from both PAT technologies to know exactly where you have to stop the pelletization process, or based on the particle size you can stop that. And this is a graph extracted from one of our work there, which plot like D10 and median particle size distribution for 4 formulation. You can see that as you are adding water, and then the particle size growth will get plateaued to some extent and all on a sudden will peak, but the other formulation did not really peak or went that high. So based on your performance, you can basically pick and choose which formulation will be most suitable for you to have an adjustment and reproducible process and end product. Now, some formulation consideration very quickly. Yes, we need to know our API, its solubility, its particle size, and its stability and compatibility. Next, the particle size of the dry mix, definitely the one that is going into granulation and powder layering. Ingredient size and density compatibility, we need to know this before we design. Drug solubility and compatibility, polymer, binder type and concentration, so it all depends on the desired release and bioavailability of the product that you are looking for. The viscosity of this drug when it goes into solution with polymer and binder, heat and moisture sensitivity, moisture content, final LOD, drug release, and loading profile that you have. So those were all some of the formulation consideration that you look into in order to get your design, formulation design, and selection of your process in general.
We've got about 2 more minutes.
Sure, I'll be there. Thank you. So now, it is a very small chart that I like to show you. If you have a high drug load, then you can choose the top spray granulation, and that can be filled into tablet capsule, or you can test mask that, so that will be an option. You can also take it and do it in CPS and put it into capsule. Now, high-dose drug can also be formulated into pellet or do the drug layering there, bottom spray. On the other hand, if the drug dose is low, the preferred choice definitely would be your granulation, top spray granulation that will give you uniform coating. And you can also apply on the pellet. And all of them, based on your drug release profile, you can coat it using delayed release, sustained release, MR, and everything else in order to get the product that you are looking for. Excuse me. Now, at the summary, granulation process is suitable process for encapsulation, tableting, test masking, and barrier coating. It is tailored that you can change your different release profile accordingly, and even the drug, which is very challenging and has pH-dependent solubility. You can make amorphous solid dispersion using Glatt technology, and pellets are developed to achieve the high drug loading, which is the CPS that I spoke about, followed by IR and MR coating. And finally, last but not the least, I iterated earlier, it will give you the dosage form that can be applied from geriatric to pediatric or pediatric to geriatric. Everyone, you can have a dosage form ready using this technology for the entire human population. So finally, we know that this is simple, very efficient process, economical, proven, flexible, as you can go through many different option and formulation development choices. Drug release you can modify. It has a stability because you can change your excipient plus barrier coating and many other ways. It is a robust process, and Glatt has many different sizes, fluid bed, and the equipment trained to make a batch size as small as a few hundred grams all the way up to a few hundred kilos. So that scalability is very easy because that sizes are all available here. And last but not least, if you have any question, I'll be open to answer your question. Thank you so much for your patience. All right.
Thank you, Zafar. Yeah, quick question here.